Welcome to Spoil Me Niecy. It's me, Niecy here, and I hope that you're doing very well. So today I would like to give my reaction to On My Block, the Netflix series On My Block Season 4, which just aired today, October 4th on Netflix. I didn't preview season 1 through 3 because they came out before I started doing YouTube videos. So since season 4 is out today, I figured it would be befitting for me to talk about it since this is my favorite series on Netflix right now. Yes, my favorite series on Netflix. This series is very underrated. It's for all age groups, I feel. Well, no, teens to like adults. But yeah, I love this series. I love how it ended. I love everything the writers did. So in this video, I'm going to give my reaction to it all. And then if I'm talking about the good, I do have to talk about the bad too. So yeah, if you haven't already seen season 4 or even gotten into the show, I do warn you this video is going to have a ton of spoilers, okay? So let's get into it. So I love where all of these characters went in season 4. So much growth, so much maturity. Man, these kids are more mature than some adults we know, and these people are only teenagers at this point. So first things first, I want to talk about Ruby. I love where Ruby's character went this season. So much happened with him, but I would have to say that Ruby became a man. He legit became a man this season. He came out of his shell. You know, he's tired of everybody. He's tired of carrying around the traumas of his past, the PTSD that he developed after experiencing Olivia dying and him almost being killed at the hands of Latrell. Speaking of Latrell, I feel like a pivotal moment in Ruby's life in this season was when Ruby went to go see Latrell in the juvenile detention center. That was growth. You know, I like that he expressed himself as like he had to like vomit out those emotions and express how Latrell's action made him feel. But that's not even what really stood out to me in that scene. What stood out to me in that scene is that Ruby pretty much threw it out there. Like, Latrell, you're a kid, you know? And when he said that, that made me think like, wow, like Latrell is a kid, you know? We spent like every season looking at Latrell like he's a monster, which he was. He did something really terrible. But it just hadn't dawned on me just how young Latrell is. You know, he's a child. At this point of the show, he's about 17 years old, almost 18. So it just kind of hadn't dawned on me. And when they were talking, Latrell pretty much told him that he does have regrets. He didn't choose that life. He would have chosen a different life, you know, if he could have. I thought that was pretty gut-wrenching. Now, one thing that really stood out to me about that meeting is when Ruby bought soda for he and Latrell. Latrell was drinking it like as if it was going to be his last soda, but it just turns out that's one of his favorite drinks and he can't drink it in jail. So by Ruby going there to pretty much face his fears and face his emotions, Latrell was also facing something as well. You know, he was facing the fact that he caused that trauma, and because of that, he'll never have his freedom again, or at least not for a very long time. So since his mother doesn't even come visit him, you know, that means that Ruby, the person that he hurt, the person he almost killed, was his only visitor, you know. And I don't know, that was just like really interesting how that scene went. Now, the one thing that I want to point out is that Ruby explained to him that, explained to Latrell that he'll be going to a prison 8 hours away. And when Latrell was leaving, they left on a good note. At this point, Ruby forgave Latrell. And he asked Latrell, is there anything that I can do for you? And Latrell looks back at him with this look in his eyes. And that seemed like he was like very sad and sorrowful. And he says to Ruby, he says if Ruby can stop him from turning 18, that would help him. And in my opinion, that almost made Latrell sound suicidal. a little bit. And when he walked away, it's like I felt really bad for Latrell at that point, because it's like, yeah, he's where he's supposed to be because he did something terrible. But when he did it, you know, he was very young and didn't really understand what it is that he did. And now he's a kid and he's going to turn 18. And in my eyes, 18 is still kind of like a kid. You know, he still have a kid mind. He's going to be in an adult prison someplace away from his family with no one to visit him or anything like that. It's kind of messed up, you know? So yeah, I feel like after that scene, I feel like that showed so much growth when it comes to Ruby, that I don't know, I love that scene. That was a pretty good scene. Now another way that Ruby has grown up this season is him and Jasmine. They had sex all the time, and their sex scenes were a little bit more graphic than I would have expected them to be. It was very interesting. But I do like, you know, how everything happened with he and Jasmine, how, you know, he broke up with her, then she finds herself and doesn't want him back, but they become friends. The whole dynamic of those two just kind of ends on a very positive and very mature note. So I don't know, I just really love how that happens. Now, the saddest thing to me when it comes to Ruby is that he lost his grandma. But in another sense, that wasn't too sad. Because Ruby was blessed to have a grandma like Abuela. She was great. Abuela was probably one of my favorite characters besides the big four in the whole season, in the whole series actually. Yeah, so yeah, that was actually like really sad. I teared up a lot actually when they revealed that she passed away, but she kind of gave hints throughout the season that it was going to happen. So by the time she had like given all those hints, you know, I feel like me as the viewer was ready for it and just kind of expected it. So it didn't really hit that hard. But yeah, but you know what? Something that I realized about that, actually, no, I'll mention that later. Next, I want to talk about Caesar. So, Caesar got on my damn nerves this whole season. He was on a new one. It almost seemed as though Caesar was trying to prove to everyone else that he was Mr. Get Bad, but nobody else believed him. His friends didn't believe him, his brothers didn't believe him, and the Santos didn't even believe him. Everybody knows that he's kind of soft, you know. Caesar has a heart. He's not cut out for that kind of thing. It didn't fit him. You know, the whole gangster lifestyle didn't really fit him at all. You know, and then he had this girlfriend who was very pretty, but scary at the same time. She was actually scary up until she tried to fight Monse and failed miserably. She certainly looked a lot tougher than what she is. And actually, that scene was actually very funny, how she's all trying to fight Monse and stuff, yeah. But yeah, you know, the saddest thing when it comes to Caesar was when his brother passed away. And what's even sadder about that is when you find out that Oscar has been looking out for Caesar the whole entire time. You know, Caesar smashed up his car. He disrespected Oscar. He did all of this stuff to Oscar because, you know, he was under some impression that Oscar had wronged him and his friends, completely turned against Oscar. And then in the very end, even after Oscar was killed, in the end, he finds out that everything that Oscar did was to help Caesar. You know, that scene when Caesar goes to the Santos and tells him that he wants to be like beat it out, like he wants to like leave, or I forget what the term is when they leave the game. And then the guy pretty much tells him like, why do you think that Oscar got beat up so bad? It's because, you know, he did it for himself and for Caesar. I thought that was like crazy, you know. So that means that now he could leave and doesn't even have to worry about you know, having them, you know, beat him to shreds or anything like that, you know. So I thought that was like very interesting, and how he like got his act together, and you know, in the end he started doing better in school and started doing better with his life. So I did like that Caesar's personality and Caesar's character did develop a lot in the show. But to be honest, Caesar got on my nerves for most of the season. So I don't even really have that much to say about him, you know. I'm so happy that he and Monse decided to go their separate ways, because I think that she deserved better. He had issues, man. Caesar definitely had issues. He wasn't one of my faves this season, I'll tell you that much. But I am happy that he ended up on a good note with all of that. But yeah, no. So next I want to talk about Jamal. So Jamal was, in my opinion, one of the stars of the season. Jasmine was too. But Jamal, I think that he was one of the stars of the season, because Jamal had like so much growth this season. You know, he was a ladies' man. Kind of like shallow. He and Ruby had that big falling out. You know what I think was messed up? I think it was messed up that Jamal kind of outed Ruby in front of everybody, talking about the whole threesome and how Ruby wasn't able to like handle himself during the threesome with Jasmine. I thought that was messed up. During the first couple of episodes of the season, I thought Jamal was like mean now. But he came to his senses. And yeah, Jamal definitely did have a lot of growth in this season. It had a lot of changes. He had a phase where he was like into Monse. That was funny. That was super funny. I thought it was interesting that Caesar wasn't even jealous of that. I guess it's because he knows that Monse would never look at Jamal that way. But I thought that was really funny. So the one thing that I want to point out about Jamal is that in the last episode, you know, now if you're familiar with my channel, you know that, you know, I'm very careful with what I look at, and well, what I make videos on as well. But I'm very careful with what I look at, but I have to mention like the weird Hollywood stuff that happens, because they do hide things in plain sight, you know, so if I catch them, I gotta talk about it, right? So I thought it was really interesting that in the last episode at the prom, Jamal's, you know, the team of people that he had put together to make a theme for the prom, they came up with some decent ideas, like the whole under the water thing. That wasn't too bad. He could have changed it to under the sea, but he didn't want that. He didn't want any of the ideas that his group came up with. So the idea that he came up with, which was a secret to everybody else, was Illuminati Nights or something like that, which is like a secret society that people talk about a lot. I thought that was really interesting. And I thought that it was interesting because everyone that was there thought that it had something to do with Harry Potter, which I'm not really sure how they would think that, because they don't really show much of that all-seeing eye in the Harry Potter movies. They do show some of those pyramids, but they don't show like the pyramid and the circle in Harry Potter, but they don't show a lot of those eyes. So it's like, as soon as I saw it, that with like the checkerboard floors, I knew what time it was. So Jamal came up with the idea for the whole like Illuminati thing. That was odd. It was very weird. And then at the end, like at the end of the prom, he goes outside. He sees that girl, the weird chick that was in the rollerblades from the last season. And he finds out that she's the person that had been following him around all that time. He goes to her car, and then this tech guy that he's obsessed with comes out, and they have this weird combination where the girl reads his thought. They want to recruit Jamal to give the weird guy ideas on inventions and stuff, and then pretty much tells Jamal that he has to sign this super mini Etch-a-Sketch to sign on with their team to make inventions for him, and tells him you only have 10 seconds to make a choice, and he signs it. And I'm just like, did Jamal just sign his soul over to some weirdo dude? Like, did he just sign his soul over to the enemy or something like that? I don't know. Like, and the interesting thing that I thought of with that is that you don't hear Jamal or any of them talk much about God too much. Like, I know Ruby's family, they're Catholics. Like, they have like the crosses and stuff like that. So you know that pretty much they have a belief system in God. And then so does Caesar. They have a belief system in God too. But with Jamal's family, you don't really see it that much, you know. And then they made him the weirdo person that makes the Illuminati themed prom. And then in the end, he goes to a like this weird black truck that had been following him around, and pretty much like sign something. He doesn't know what he's going to be paid. He doesn't know any of the details about it. He doesn't know anything. All he knows is he signed his signature. He doesn't know how long whatever contract is. Like, the Jamal literally doesn't have any idea what he signed, or like what's included in the contract, or even how long he'll be in it. And I'm just like, bruh, like, he had like the worst ending out of all of them, because he's like, oh, I got a job now. And it's like, but is that a job? I don't know. So yeah, I think that Jamal's ending was like super weird and super like Hollywood sketchy. So yeah, moving on from that, let's talk about Monse. So I really liked Monse this season, and she's another person that really grew a lot. I like how, you know, she was big on Caesar, but then as the season goes along, she made peace with the idea of not being with him anymore, and she made peace with the idea of him having another girlfriend. I think that Monse grew a lot, actually. So in the end, you know, Monse, you know, she gets her family together, her stepdad, her stepmom, her dad, gets them all together, and pretty much they have a beautiful blended family. And she like decides not to go to college just yet, to take a year off and to write a book. I thought that was very, very, very special. So yeah, that's what I thought of all of the character development of the whole season. I feel like the writers did a really, really, really good job with that. I like where all of that stuff went. But here's the thing. So on one hand, the saddest parts of this season would have to be, of course, Oscar dying. That had me crying. By the time I got done crying over Oscar passing away, I was kind of numb when it came to the end, when Abuelita passed away, honestly. But Oscar passing away, Abuelita passing away, and Latrell making that comment that he made that seemed suicidal, that was also one of the saddest things in this season. But one of the like underhanded, like really sad things this season that I think needs more attention is Jasmine. So Jasmine pretty much like reveals, like, she's like a giver. She's given her life to take care of her sick dad, which is nice and is commendable. But she's given her life to take care of her sick dad. Everybody that she's with, she takes care of them. As soon as she saw Monse, she's like, oh, I want to fix your outfit. As soon as she gets with Ruby, she wants to like fix him and take care of him. She's like a person that takes care of people. And once she actually finds herself and finds what she wants to do, and you know, realizes that there's a life outside of just taking care of everybody else, it gets kind of, and she gets accepted into Berkeley. You know, so now she's all excited. She's leaving Freebridge, about to go to Berkeley, about to, you know, finally live her life to take care of like her own needs and stuff. It all gets kind of ripped away from her when her aunt, who was taking care of her dad for some time, decides to leave and move to Texas, and now there's nobody left to take care of her dad. So now she has to give up her dream of going to college and everything, I guess, until whenever. I thought that was like really sad this season. I really did. Because like Jasmine is like, she's like dope. I think that everybody in the show kind of like underestimates how Jasmine's presence with the whole crew, how it helps everybody. But I thought that was like really sad, you know, that happened with Jasmine's character. I think that might be one of the saddest moments in the show, when she found out that her aunt was leaving, honestly. Another thing that I want to point out is that now that Abuelita passed away, I know she mentioned to Jamal that well, when Jamal went under her bed while Abuelita was alive to get her weed, she had that weird box. I believe it's that box that she got in season 3 from that weird lady or whatever. She said the box like had like a spell or something on it. And then she tells Jamal, don't open it because it's worse on whoever she gives it to. So the thing that I thought was interesting is that Abuelita passed away. So someone's going to open that box, you know? So I thought that was interesting too, to say the least. So like, even though like the show ended on a good note, there are a lot of answers that were left unanswered. And personally, I would like it if there were some spinoffs that happen. One, I feel like there has to be a Monse and Jasmine spinoff. There has to be. There's no way. Monse and Jasmine had like such a deep bond. Like Jasmine has Monse's back, Monse has Jasmine's back. Personally, like I want to see their college career. Well, I want to see like their friendship together. Like, you know, like I want to see how like that happens. And I feel like in their spinoff, I would love to see like, you know, them to show like Ruby and Jasmine's life and stuff like the other characters could still be in it, but I don't want to spin off about Ruby. I feel like Ruby's story ended quite well, but I would like to see what ends up happening like with Jasmine and Monse. I feel like that'd be a dope show. Another person that I think needs a spinoff is Jamal. Jamal needs a spinoff. Why? Because I feel like there are so many unanswered questions about who he signed with, what's included in whatever that was that took place, and like what happens with him. He's like a little weirdo. Like he has like so much like weird stuff going on with him, you know? Or it would be kind of dope if the girls got their own spinoffs and the guys got their own spinoff together. That'd be kind of dope. But yeah, that's just what I want to see. So, if I had to give this season, you know, a score between 1 and 10, I give it like a 9.5, you know, and, the only negative thing that I can think of that took away that half, honestly, was, just some of like the unanswered, questions that we have about Jamal. You know, in a season finale, I'm looking for all of our answers to be answered, and I'm not looking for any cliffhangers. Jamal's situation certainly ended with a cliffhanger, and I feel like Jasmine's ended with a cliffhanger too. So because of those cliffhangers, yeah, I gotta take away like half a point, and I give it a 9.5. But bravo, that was a superb show's finale. Hands down, it was excellent. So, yeah, that's all that I have to say about that. I don't want to make this video any longer. If you have any comments about this, let me know how you feel in the comment section. If you haven't already done so, make sure you, first of all, like this video, subscribe to this channel, and hit the notification button so that you'll know when more videos come out. So, until next time, guys, I hope you guys are good. God bless you guys in Jesus' name, and peace.